What's up, Bay Area, and welcome to this Durags Conversations, this series with DATBOYMEDIA. This week for your Cultural Affairs radio magazine produced by members of the First Voice Apprenticeship Program.
All right, the show is written, produced, and broadcasting live from right here in Ho Chi Minh, occupied Ohlone territory known to settlers as the Bay Area. And on tonight's segment is being produced here by the one and only DATBOYMEDIA and myself, David de la Gran.
Tonight, we're continuing our conversation about the Colorism series. As y'all may remember, we had our first show back in November introducing what colorism is. Now we're talking about it, how it affects our day-to-day life, and how we can come up with some solutions.
Right. We brought together two poets and authors of color, and they will be joining us for a panel-type discussion on what does colorism mean to them, and does it show up in our communities? Will there be any solutions to fix it? Plus, we have a giveaway and lots of G.1S and King Tahoe performing a new joint off their EP later during the show. So sit back and get ready and think on it. This is Durags Conversations, a conversation about colorism, part 2, up now. So we're back here, and this is Full Circle presents Durags Conversations, conversation about colorism, part 2, here on Pacifica's KPFA. So let's introduce our guests right now. We have Shanthi Sekeran, and she is a novelist, educator, and soon-to-be screenwriter, author of Lucky Boy off of Penguin Random House. And
we have the wonderful Dominique. She is a poet, an actress, Lord, an entrepreneur. and she's the author of Soulful Devotions, which is out now. Hey, ladies.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me too.
No problem. It's all good.
Absolutely.
And so before we get into this conversation, kind of introduce yourself in like maybe in one sentence and tell us what group or community do you identify with as far as like, sex, female, whatever. Who want to go first?
I'll go first. So my name is Shanthi. I am California born. My parents immigrated from India, from South India in the 1960s. And I grew up here. We go back to India now and then. I identify as Indian American and as female.
Nice. What about you, Miss Dominique?
Hey y'all. What's up? It's your girl Dominique. A little bit about myself. Born and raised in the Bay. You already know. I had my child at 17, so I am a young parent. I was a teen parent, but I still went to college and got my degree. I wrote Soulful Devotions at a time where I was going through a lot in my life, but I definitely think it got me to this point and has made me stronger. My parents, my mom is from Bakersfield and my dad's from Louisiana. My dad's Creole, so it's a lot to unpack. I'm looking forward to getting into this conversation. I identify as female. And for those of y'all that want to follow me, my Instagram is simply Dominique without the U.
Thank you.
All right.
And so we're going to get into this first question into the conversation. Whoever want to answer first. Is there an issue in your community based on skin color? And if so, what is it?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm. That's a loaded question. There's lots to unpack.
Well, we only got so many times, so who want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first.
I mean, what if I wanted to go first?
No, you go first. I want to hear what you say. I'm curious.
Okay.
2 minutes. All right.
Okay. So can you run that question again?
Is there an issue in your community based on skin color? If so, what is it?
I think traditionally in the African American community, there has been a lot of issues around skin color. I feel like a lot of this stems from slavery and from slavery, which was passed down. And a lot of it comes from like the South with different shades of brown. I feel like growing up, I saw it somewhat in my family. I think it happens a lot though in other communities. I feel like we weren't taught to embrace darker hues. And I do think that now it's getting better as far as like media representation, because there are more people of color that are like creators, but I think we still have a ways to go.
So I would say in the South Asian community, and I'll speak specifically about the Indian and Indian American community because that's where I come from, skin color and the lightness or darkness of skin is pervasive. It's a real issue, and it's a real source of judgment and of degradation. I think it goes back even to religious representations within Hinduism, and I can go more into that. But it comes from not just imperialism in India, but also pre-imperialism. It comes from the caste system. It's a problem that's gone back for millennia.
Wow, that's deep.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing, like that. And I definitely want to dive in, that is just catching it on the most broadest aspect that we can possibly get it in. So thank you for sharing that and giving us, that scope. I'm also really excited to hear, from your respective books as well. As we can, as we progress in the show, we can hear some tidbits, some snippets from it, some excerpts from your presentations as well.
Sure, absolutely. And Alice Walker, she was kind of like the first person to kind of coin colorism. So for those who are just now tuning in, this is what she thinks. Colorism, a term believed to be first coined in 1982 by Pulitzer Prize winner Alice Walker, and was defined by her to mean the preferential treatment of same-race people based solely on their color. So that's what colorism back in 1982 meant to Alice Walker. So yeah, we're gonna transition into a little instrumental, and then we're gonna have, I believe it's Shanthi go first and kind of read a little bit of her poem.
All right.
That you got from Lucky Boy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're gonna get into that. Radio Shack, hit that.
And to kick us off right now, reading from her book Lucky Boy, off of Penguin Random House Press, we got Shanthi Sekeran. Take it away, Shanthi.
Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit of this book. It centers on one of my main characters named Kavya. And I didn't write directly about skin color or colorism in the novel, but I did write a lot about the community and the community gaze and achievement in the eyes of the community. So this particular passage shows us Kavya arriving at her kind of best frenemies wedding. And I thought I'd kick off the book with an Indian wedding because everyone loves a good wedding. So this is her arriving at the wedding. In the beginning, Kavya's parents had befriended the Patels because they had little choice. The scarcity of Indians in the 1970s had propelled this north-south friendship. Preeti grew up 3 blocks from Kavya in a modest tree-lined neighborhood. 3 blocks in India might have kept them from ever meeting, but among the Caucasian tundra of suburban Sacramento, it had felt essential that the girls be friends. Soon enough, their parents realized that they got along as well, that they shared more than nationality, and that the neutralizing effects of American soil would allow their friendship to flourish. Kavya hitched up the folds of her sari to walk over the wet grass. She wouldn't have gone, except that to not go would have made a stronger statement than she was willing to make. Preeti Patel was getting married and sealing forever her victory over Kavya. Over the years, the girls had grown from playmates to rivals and begrudging friends. To be fair, it was Kavya who grudged. Preeti was endlessly gracious, completely unimpeachable in her maintenance of friendship. Preeti was infallibly interested and interesting, and if she felt superior to Kavya, she never spoke of it, never mentioned her own achievements. That was left to the mothers. And also, to be fair, there wasn't much rivalry to speak of. Rivalry suggests equality, And Preeti beat Kavya at every step in a flurry of accomplishment, beautifully and without comment. The day Kavya smoked her first spliff, Preeti won the state spelling bee. The night Kavya first let a boy's hand crawl up her blouse, Preeti won the national spelling bee. The day Kavya gave away the drum set she had failed to master, Preeti became first chair violinist of the Central Valley Youth Symphony. The week Kavya got into Berkeley, Preeti got into Berkeley. A week later, Preeti received fat envelopes from Stanford, Brown, Yale, UPenn, and Princeton. Harvard had said no, most likely a typographical error that the Patels didn't bother to pursue. When Kavya spent her weekday afternoons trying to free Tibet and bring back affirmative action, Preeti ensconced herself in the Stanford Library, resting only to call her mother. When Kavya spent her weekends cocooned in Rishi's unwashed sheets, Preeti returned home to eat her mother's food. When Kavya graduated from Berkeley and became a barista, Preeti won a Fulbright and spent a year studying diabetic blindness in rural Gujarat. The year Kavya started culinary school, Preeti moved back to California with a degree in epidemiology from Johns Hopkins. The week Kavya got audited for misfiling her taxes, Preeti bought her first house, a 3-story Victorian in San Francisco's Noe Valley. They were the goofus and gallant of the Central Valley Indians, and most people knew it.
Wow, that was a mouthful right there.
And every single word, I mean, like, I know that, you know, are these fictional characters, right? Are these?
They're fictional characters, but
Right.
I based their community a lot on my community, for better and worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I can definitely relate to it, you know, and I think that's the, you know, I wonder oftentimes, you know, coming up with this conversation, I wonder if, you know, if oftentimes I'm making things up, you know, if I'm looking too far into somebody else's like success, somebody else's like life, and wondering like, is it really some sort of privilege? Is it really some sort of, you know, like, you know, colorism type thing, or am I just making things up? You know, and you know, when you're reading that, it just brings all that to mind. You know, so like that's really powerful.
Well, that goes into our second question. Have you, any of you guys, ladies, have you guys experienced colorism in your life?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say outright. I don't think I've experienced like colorism. However, I do think that in my life, for instance, I remember one time when I was in 9th grade, I was in Spanish class, and this dark-skinned, beautiful young woman was going out with this brown-skinned guy. Like, he was like my complexion, and they were just like playfully going back and forth. And I remember he told her, he was like, "You're dark like a skillet. Like, you're so dark, you look like my mom's skillet." And I looked at her and I looked at him, and I couldn't even believe he said that to her. And I could see the embarrassment on her face. And I knew she was embarrassed because I overheard it and they knew. But it was so weird because she was still with him. I think that a lot of times through colorism, it has taken some power away. I feel like, because it has made women, I know, for instance, women feel like, okay, well, do I have to be lighter? Do I have to look a certain way to get this, you know? So I've experienced it from that end, and also from like the media perception.
What about you, Shanthi?
So, as pervasive as colorism is in Indian society, I was fortunate in that my parents didn't really bring it home for me to experience. I was never really, at least I don't remember really being talked to about the color of my skin or made to stay out of the sun. The most blatant example for me was when my book was reviewed by the Times of India. It's one of their big newspapers. And so they printed the review, and then they printed a little author photo of me. And I knew the author photo. It was my standard photo, but it had been lightened about 3 shades by the photo editors, which was really striking and odd.
Did you feel a certain type of way?
I felt a certain way about that. First, I mean, I looked sickly. I didn't look like myself. It was really strange.
You know, that's that melanin.
Period. That makes me happy.
I need my melanin. So what it said to me was that, I'm sure there was absolutely no conversation around whether they did this. It was probably just an automatic, yeah, of course we're going to lighten her 3 shades. It also suggested that as an author, they couldn't possibly present me in my own skin tone. Like somehow it was impossible for them to present an author who had written a book as someone with dark skin.
Wow, that's very powerful, and we got even more powerful stuff on the way. So we're gonna go into a little short instrumental, and then we're gonna come back, and then Dom, you got some pieces that you want to say from your book, Soulful Devotions. Don't be sitting up there acting shy.
Yeah, I might have a few.
All right, Radio Shack, hit that.
I'ma hold it down. Friday to Thursday, getting this cake like it's my birthday. Survived in my birthplace, in my worst ways, come my first case though. Vacation for 6, it's time that I missed for hitting that lick. Now I'm legit, got me a bitch and we on the same shit. Focus, remember them days I was hopeless. Same clothes, hope no one would notice. Flip a zip and cop the fit, now look who the coldest. Small time for a young mind, but I never smoked it. All profit, fell in love with the hustle, trying to feed my pockets.